That's
So,
what,
uh,
what happened there? Oh, is it all right? Is it recording
oh,
now?
that's fine. A little sign pops up here when I press recording. It says avoid legal snags by telling people they're being recorded.
Oh,
You're
okay.
being recorded.
Thank you. Thanks for letting me know.
Like you're not being recorded every single day of the week with Bigfoot Odyssey and Hidden Existence. When are
Mm.
you not being recorded? That's what I'm wondering about.
Probably when I'm sleeping,
As far as you know,
as far as I know, when I'm not looking at my phone, because that's probably recording us all the time, isn't it?
I imagine it is. I imagine it
Yeah.
is. I have because I have some Beast of Britain merch online.
Oh,
I was talking to somebody before an interview the other day and said, "Oh yeah, I have this this Beast of Britain merch and it's on Redbubble, blah blah blah." And then literally on a page I had opened on the side, like ping 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 ping, all of my merch popped up in front of me, and I was like, right. So
it's
that's
scary, isn't it?
pretty scary. I'm sure.
Yeah. I've
Sure,
had this
that's
sort
not
of
a
thing
great one.
happen.
Everybody talks about it. Everybody
Yeah.
talks about it. I mean, but if you don't want to be listened to, then you're not going to have great suggestions fed to you via the internet, are you? Every time you open a
Exactly.
page, you
Things you
know,
never thought of. Well, like you
thinking of
did that.
pizza, boom, boom, boom,
Yeah.
Domino's, and
So things you did think of, and suddenly they're there.
uh,
But
it's the tech we've all
luckily,
been waiting for.
yeah. But has anything untoward kind of popped up? Have you ever mentioned or thought?
No, because I,
Hmm,
I don't have those kind of thoughts. So
okay, well that's good then.
I'm married for 10 years.
Oh
I've
well, there
heard
you go.
that
There you
such
go.
thoughts are out there in the stratosphere,
Yeah,
but
I
I'm
better
not
not
aware
tell
of
you.
what they are anymore.
Well, let's move on from this.
Yes, moving on swiftly. So we met through our mutual wonderful friend Captain Daz, didn't we?
Yes.
Captain Darren Howe. Um, in my opinion, probably the nicest person in all of Bigfootery, and
Definitely.
yeah, the most genuine. And we started chatting, and then you started the Bigfoot Odyssey podcast with Kerry, and now Hidden Existence. So let's talk about that. Bigfoot Odyssey, clearly, it's one subject that you're dealing with. So let's talk about that first. How did you get involved with those Americans? And and you are a Northern lass. That do they understand you?
Just about, I think. Just about, yeah. I when I got into this subject, I very quickly managed to sift through uh, the wheat from the chaff, as they say.
Yeah.
It's clear, pretty clear, the genuine people that are out there. And I'm not saying not everyone's genuine, but there's a lot of stuff that doesn't really come to much. And I'm looking for um, the puzzle pieces. I'm looking for the
Mm.
answers. And I think there's, a lot of people out there who have information, and especially the witnesses are the most interesting part of the whole thing is listening to their encounters. And so Bigfoot Odyssey had literally just brought their first documentary out, and I was really blown away with it. How sort of really grounded Kerry was, and the way he did the interview, and he just let the
Mm.
people talk, and it was really, really a compelling documentary for me. And I literally didn't want it to end. It was so good when I've been watching all this other stuff, and I thought this is really where I want to stick with this. And so I just ended up waiting for the next documentary and ended up joining the group. And I would, leave a comment as you do and stuff like that. And I was quite vocal in the group, actually. I was the one who was going, what's this rubbish? Come on, why are you posting blob swatch? It's everywhere. Why are we seeing it here, when
Yeah,
this should be more, let's keep this subject real. And
yeah.
so me and Kerry got talking and, became the admin of the group. And the next thing, Kerry suggests he wants to do this researcher's report and, would I be interested in helping out? And I've never done anything like it before in my life, but I just got in there and did it. And, 18 months later, it doesn't feel like it, but it is. Um, I'm still doing it and loving it. And yeah, and then Hidden Existence kind of just had to happen, really. Uh,
Is that because you want to you want to deal with everything, not just Bigfoot and not just cryptozoology,
Yeah,
but paranormal, and you've got an interest in ghost
yeah.
hunting too. Is that right? Is that right,
Well,
or
I'm
hauntings?
interested in it. Hauntings, yeah.
Yeah,
Um, we're a Bigfoot Odyssey Researchers Report is just an open platform. We don't judge people. We don't do anything like that. We're there to listen to people. And I wanted to delve deeper into the subjects and the various things that come off it as well.
yeah.
It's like a trickle effect. There's ripple effects rather. Um, and so, yeah, I wanted to, do my own thing as well, have my own kind of platform to kind of do the same thing, but in my own way. Um, which I mean, I love doing it, researchers
Mm,
report, but I feel like I can come into my own a little bit more on my own
yeah.
channel and do things, pretty much do it the same way as Kerry, but it's that
But
kind of
the
same
subject is more
format,
diverse, and
definitely.
I think that's very clear from the guests that you have on. Now, and you would have experienced this interviewing me from the other side of the screen. As an interviewer, actually, sometimes I really struggle to make my points and questions short and to interview. How do you cope with that sometimes when you're talking to somebody and you just have a great point to add, or really you suddenly know that the thing they're talking about, a fact about it that actually changes the course of the interview. Do you chuck that in there, or do you just let them finish up and speak out? Do you challenge, or is it more that everybody gets a good review whilst they're in the interviewer's box?
I like to challenge, and I think that word can be sort of taken in many different ways. People
Yeah.
can either find it an aggressive thing, or it isn't like that. To challenge is, just to ask, just to
Mm,
why not be able to ask somebody why they've said that thing,
yeah.
and the problem with this subject is people don't want to be challenged
Mm,
because there's nothing tangible with Bigfoot, unfortunately. There's
yeah.
nothing. And so everything's based on what they think,
Mm,
maybe what they've experienced. And, if you can't show me, you're going to have to maybe tell me a little bit more if you want me to go along with what you're saying. It's we would be doing the same in anything else that we do in our lives. We'd want
yeah.
to make sure. It's difficult. It's difficult, isn't it? Because it's not something we can prove. Anybody can just prove it is what they're saying it is. But we have to ask questions because there's a lot of people who don't ask, who are quite, and I don't want to use the word gullible, maybe naive,
Mm.
as we all are when we join a new subject. I mean,
Bit
this
of
is,
wishful thinking.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's no guide to this thing. And if I was saying this before, I did a live stream before. If people sound convincing enough, people will believe you.
Yeah.
If you
No.
can talk the talk, people will follow you.
Yeah. They will.
Whether and they won't even challenge it. They just believe.
So
And
on that
it's
point, do you think there's too much of an expectation that there will be a tacit acceptance of any claims made about Bigfoot by witnesses, and that will be unchallenged? And is that something saying you challenge, you experience all the time? People just give their report and nobody questions it. Okay, so you saw Bigfoot, I believe you, without saying, well, why do you think you saw Bigfoot? Or could it have been this? Could it have been that? Are you currently using any stimulants? You know,
it's yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I mean, once you get to talk to the people, that's a different matter, isn't it? When you
mm,
can see these people and talk to them face to face and discuss it, uh, you can definitely, you need to spend time with these people. And some of these reports are either just wrote down and published, and that's not enough for
mm,
me just to read. They're good to read, but to really delve in, you need more context, don't you? You need
yeah,
more detail, and yeah, there's more that should be asked.
yeah,
But people don't want to upset people. I mean, this is what I'm finding,
yeah,
and to the point where there's more people um, not wanting to be challenged, and there is people who want to challenge, and there's not enough support for people trying to seek the truth. There's no backup as well. Nobody wants to get dragged down in an argument and back people up, because it's quite, it's not a nice environment if you're on the wrong end of the stick. So, it's difficult. It's difficult.
Well, on that point, I wondered actually, some of the self-proclaimed witnesses, do you think that their resistance to being questioned is the same resistance a victim of a crime has, for instance? Like, I know what happened to me, so that should be enough. I'm a victim of a crime. Similarly, with something you often find with some witnesses, they can't unsee what they've seen. So, for example, some people whose careers or their positions, their societal positions might be affected by claiming to be a witness, sometimes can't shut up about it because they can't unsee what they've seen. Others seem to really want the attention that comes with it. Not that it particularly excludes them, but I've noticed that there's a lot of Bigfoot witnesses, and there's a lot of stroke witnesses who have claimed to have a sighting, and for a very rare animal, it seems to be very frequently seen. So what's your position on that? Do you think we're looking at something that's seen a lot, and now people are coming out of the woodwork because it's acceptable to say that they've seen it, or that there's just a bit of a badge of honor in seeing one? So perhaps people are exaggerating, some of their sightings or experiences.
Well, there's a huge amount of people who've just heard tree knocks, and there's a load of people who heard howls, and these are all being shoved into the same encounter boxes, where someone might have heard a tree knock or a growl or a noise, but is that Bigfoot? We don't know, do we? And so there's a massive encounters that for me don't necessarily should be slotted into that thing. And I think there's people out there who might have seen something and turned it into something else, maybe for the attention.
Yeah,
I don't know. I've never experienced any other kind of environment like this.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to know what motivates people. There's not a lot of. You've got to have a good story, haven't you? If you're going to make it up, you've got to have a good story and a good sort of attention for the detail. And a lot of people don't have that.
Because the details will trip you up a lot. I've noticed this, and oftentimes when I'm asking witnesses, can you describe its fur, its face, and that, they don't have any of these descriptions. Now, I completely understand in a moment of panic, you see an outline, you see a shape, you kind of click that something unusual is happening, and you freeze and run off, and you don't see any other details. That can happen a lot. But mostly what happens, people have a sort of a traumatic experience, is every single minute detail is frozen in their mind forever, and they can never forget it.
Yeah.
So you go through the sighting with them 3 or 4 times, and then if a few details are dropped by the 3rd or 4th time, you're thinking, okay, well, is this real? Or if the person's still stressed, it's hard, but it definitely diminishes it. I'm interested in what you think about it. It just seems to be a lot of supply, a lot of demand. I don't think we have the supply to meet the demand. So there's obviously something wrong, going wrong here.
Well, it's an entertainment. It's turned into an entertainment kind of subject, hasn't it? People are making money from it. It's all right. It's all right. Well, not a lot. Not a lot. If you've got a channel and you work in it, and you've built up enough to put your ads on, go for it. Do that. But people who are putting information out, and if you want to know more, come and join my Patreon.
Yeah.
Where you're not going to learn a lot more.
Yeah.
It's a bit. I've been saying this recently. It's a bit like the Curse of Oak Island. This series. Have you watched it?
No, I've never
It,
seen that.
it's. I don't know how many seasons there is, but you wait. You're waiting for them to find the treasure, and every episode it's like wait for the next installment, and you
Yeah.
get there, and it's like, oh, they
Tune in
just
next week
found a
for
bit of china, a little
yeah.
broken bit of china, and it's like we're not getting to this.
Yeah.
Nobody's got anything.
No.
And if someone's trying to entice you in with a story leading up, there's something leading up to this, and that nobody's got anything. They haven't got anything.
Alarm bells.
Because I tell you, if someone knows what Bigfoot is, they're going to be shouting it from the
Yeah.
rooftop if they want to come public with it, and I don't know if they would, but we would know. We would literally know the minute.
Have you noticed that those particular people you're talking about, the enticers, the tune in next week for the final installment of The Truth Revealed. That these people, it's always like that. Basically, if they knew, they would just tell you. There's a great Bigfoot, if you like, a Yowie witness report as the Yowie hunters, Australia, and these guys, they're so good, and it's just police style interviewing. There's about 166 different interviews on YouTube. You can find them there. And they just get the witness on, and Aussies being Aussies, just talk in a very matter-of-fact way. And they tend to get to the sighting really quick. There's not like a page of, what the weather was like that morning and then what the trail looks like running up to the place. There's just a quick overview of the area. Then they give you the sighting, 5 or 10 minutes, and then they leave and you ask them questions about details and you get them. That's the kind of thing you want. I mean, when you're spinning the yarn, so to speak, it doesn't feel believable. Maybe it's a cultural thing. It doesn't to me. When
Putting the
those
fillers
details,
in, needing
all the
fillers.
fillers, yes,
Yeah.
and it's just very difficult for me. I think there is such a thing as Bigfoot, or several variants of that type of creature around the world.
7 apparently.
7.
7 types of Sasquatch I've learnt recently.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
In North America or
All over.
the world?
All over.
Oh,
An expert told me.
okay. I mean, I've heard of the Yeti and the Yeren and the Yowie, the Captor.
Oh no, this is the 7 different types. 7 different types of Bigfoot.
I mean like a giant and
a different look,
yeah.
a different facial feature, or whatever.
Okay.
But I mean, I don't believe that. I don't know how we would know. I don't know
Polar
how.
bear, and I don't know how they know either. That's a good point. How did nobody? That's the point. Nobody's asking. How do you know there's 7 types?
Yeah.
Where's the research? Where are the links to all the research
it's
that's
just
come?
someone with a credible following is saying stuff like that, and people just repeat it because I've heard it, and it came from someone else who heard it from someone else who heard it from someone else, and people just repeating stuff.
Well,
the other thing, sorry, let me just say about the truth. I was told that it would just be too much to take. So it has to be done in increments, so we can prime ourselves up to this huge revelation. And I don't think I can be shocked by anything at this point. I think I've heard so many accounts and things going on. Nothing's going to shock me. Just tell me. I don't want to read the book. I don't want to get to the end. I'll read it if you tell me what's at the end of it. But I'm not prepared to read the first 15 chapters. I need to know that there's an ending, and it's got the truth there.
So we're talking like a Lord of the Rings kind of build up here, right?
Yes,
you split it into 6 books, and then
I haven't got time for that. But I'll definitely read it if I knew there was
going to be in there at the end.
The treasure was at the end.
Yeah,
absolutely. I'll read it from the back to the front.
Yeah, it used to be a thing. If me and a friend used to do whenever there was a new whenever there was a new monster show of some kind, speculative, prospective zoology show, tune in to find out, did they really find a living mammoth? You're like, no, because you would just announce it.
Yeah.
It would say, we found a new mammoth, and find out how we found it. Did they? Do we? Could we? Could there be? no, you didn't find anything. It's
No.
an hour and a half of you looking. I'm not that interested.
They'd definitely pull them in if they said, tune in
Yeah,
next week for the mammoth we found. They would
people
definitely tune in.
come
But
and look
yeah,
at the mammoth.
yeah. It's it's words, isn't it? It's we get drawn in. It's everywhere, this kind of thing, and people are working it in this subject,
Yeah.
and people are going with it. And like I say, it's become almost this entertainment kind of uh, thing
Well,
now.
I mean, I'm nothing against. I've nothing against being mercantile and making money off of something you do as a profession. When you provide
Yeah,
a product and the product is purchased, that's fine. A documentary or books or whatever, that's okay. But I just think it's the Patreon walls and the paywalls and the GoFundMe's. Oh, GoFund My Lives, I call them. GoFund My Life. And I would really like to do something. So if you guys could just pay for it, that would be really great. That would really, really help me
yeah,
out.
yeah.
And I'll share with you all the stuff I did when I come back. Um, so that's good. It's a different perspective. Maybe it's an old-fashioned perspective. We're old now, after all. Um, I'm assuming that's not you whimpering. That's the
That's my
dog, right?
dog. That's not me
Not
squealing
crying,
there.
crying
Yeah,
into your cup of tea
that is
there.
my dog. Was probably missing the horse
Bless.
uh,
Poop.
thing that she was.
Yeah,
Yes.
rolling in.
Um. Um. Yeah. I mean, if people want to donate, nice.
That's okay.
That's lovely. That's
Mm.
okay. That's them wanting to help your channel out in whatever way, and I always appreciate that. But I would, I'm not going to set up a GoFundMe for. I need a new bathroom suite,
Yeah,
but I'm gonna, I'll be paying for it myself,
yeah.
and so. But yeah, it's
Or rims or something.
yes, yes.
Like,
Sorry about my Miley.
that's okay.
Um,
It's not that loud. It's okay.
yeah, okay. Yeah, it's a mishmash of stuff, isn't it? It's a mishmash of stuff. It's
Yeah.
very, very muddy waters, this subject. And, how do we clear it? How do we
I don't.
clear it?
I,
Can we clear it?
I don't think so. I don't think so because there's I mean, I think maybe the first thing to do to clear it would be that we just stop fighting, and that's hard because, of course, people tend to fight their corner when they're accused or their egos are hurt. I fought my corner. Many people have fought their corner, and the conclusion I've come to essentially is when you fight a fool, people only ever see two fools fighting. So I've tried to stop that stuff now.
Yeah.
And we all live and learn over time.
There's nothing worse than seeing someone wade in to an argument that's
Mm.
nothing to do with them
Oh yeah.
to protect someone they've never met. Why would you do that? Why would you do that?
I don't.
Um,
Well, no, I don't know. I mean, just because it's a safe arena, you can throw a punch and not get one back on the internet, can't you? And I think that's where we are now. I mentioned something the other day. Somebody had posted something on a page and said something like, uh, the Bible speaks of Nephilim as reptilian beings. It's all throughout the Bible. And somebody just posted on the page. I said, okay, thanks, great. Could you just give me the passages where that's written? I have to come back to you on that. I just need to have a look. You're the one who made the statement. And then it was followed by a bunch of people saying, who are you to say that this guy is wrong? And, you know, we all have our own opinions. So I said, well, actually, no. I think it's very important to tell people when they're wrong if you know they are.
yeah.
And that's nothing wrong with that. They can challenge it. They can say, no, actually, you're wrong. And this is why I think you are. And that's the point. Not just you say, oh, that's a load of rubbish. You say, I don't think that's right because X, Y, and Z, and so on and so forth. So let's move away from the. I was going to go into British Bigfoot, but I think we'll steer clear of it. And
Yeah.
so we'll just go flat and cut out
Let's
the signal.
just,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Go on.
well, that's our introduction, but it's really, isn't it? The British Bigfoot. We've both been
Yeah.
bigfooting, around the place and looking at stuff and um, hopefully, investigating different areas. There are some witnesses I wholeheartedly believe, absolutely believe, have seen something. Do I believe now there's 600 or 700 witnesses? It's hard for me to say yes, because it's hard to substantiate the claims. Um, but that's not to say they couldn't be. Why should this country be any different to another? Yes, it's an island, but we had bears, we had wolves, we had lions. Large things have lived here in the past and still could. But it's hard. It's hard to fathom. When you go to some places in the US and you see endless forest, even in Atlanta, when I was in Atlanta, we were landing. All I could see was forest for tens of miles ahead of me. Couldn't see any end to it.
Yeah.
I thought, that's Atlanta. That's not any place I ever associated with having forest.
Mm.
What have we got? Harwood Forest?
We haven't got a lot.
No.
This is my kind of thought with this, is that America's so big, and like you said, there's so much wilderness out there. But people are bumping into these things left, right, and centre.
Mm.
They're even coming up to people's properties.
Yeah.
And England's so small. I mean, if you break up those 600 things, those sightings, they're not, some of them with very little detail.
Mm.
Very little detail, something moving, something big moving into the trees. They need to be gone through a little bit more and sift through to real, for me, face to face, or seeing a full creature. What about Europe though? Italy, France, I mean, have they got 600 odd sightings or more?
I
I
think
mean,
so. I mean, there's some, as far as I know, there's some odd sightings in Scandinavia and places like that from time to time. There was one or two photographic claims in Spain at some point, which seemed to be fake. For my mind, it seemed to be a bit of a fake photo fit. It's hard to say. Europe, I'm finding very difficult to research anyway because of the language barriers. There's so many, and the researchers aren't really unified. There's a French group or a German group. There might be a Spanish group.
yeah.
Mostly they're reporting on American and British things,
Mm.
or Russia or somewhere like that. Australia. They're not really reporting on their own areas, so it just seems to be very, very mild. Great spot for lake monsters, Scandinavia, obviously. Um, Great sightings for lake monster reports, but very little else. Um,
So
unless you
that,
count
to
things like
me,
beholder folk. Yeah.
right. I mean, that to me, says how can such a tiny island hold these Bigfoot in Europe?
Mm.
Nothing. The odd
Not
sighting,
much.
the odd
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
So, I'm not saying there wasn't people haven't experienced or seen what they've seen,
Yeah.
but what have they seen? Exactly what have
Yeah.
they seen?
It's interesting. I think if there's any population here, I think we're talking below 200, below, and so we're talking about the sightings. Really, then we're talking 10 to 20, 20 to 30 detailed, reasonable sightings. That could still be mistaken, but however detailed is still hard to substantiate because direct contact with the witnesses isn't available, or the witnesses have been lost to time and the story has survived, as often happens. And you don't really have that situation in the US, not even in Russia. You're in direct contact with witnesses that have claimed to see something. So it's hard for me to say. I think I
Mm.
wouldn't like to just rub it off because of experience or thinking that it hasn't been handled properly. Um, but it's hard to fathom at this point. That's for sure. Yeah.
I kind of think about Bigfoot, and I think about quality of life and all these other animals, the quality of their lives. I mean, they're free to roam, to feed, to play, to do whatever. Seems like Bigfoot would have a really hard time in the UK because he'd have to keep his head down constantly. Pretty much would
Yeah.
lead a very secluded life if it had to be underground, say, or
There's so
in
many areas though
Scotland.
nobody touches. So many areas nobody touches. Um, just because of the way the British countryside is set up, I think Scotland's still the most likely place because it's so
Mm,
underpopulated. It becomes high when you've got 5 million people, mostly in the cities, 1.9% urban sprawl. Then you're looking at something that's a possibility, just for lack of running into something, I
yeah.
suppose. When we were up there, even in somewhere that's a popular park like Galloway Forest Park, we rarely saw anybody. Rarely.
Mm,
Miles and miles of walking in traditional places that people like to go and walk in. And it was just, I think we drove 30 miles to a takeaway one night
right.
because that's the
Wow.
only thing we could find. And
Yeah.
it was an Indian
Plus.
takeaway that did Chinese and Italian as well, but everything smelled
All
like
right.
Indian food. It was wonderful. But I mean, it was just this kind of place. It was sparse. There was barely
Mm,
any population and really not much um, habitation going on up there. I don't know. I'm still, I've become less of a believer in it. I always say I believe the witnesses. If somebody gives me a report and they seem credible, then who am I to say no?
yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
But it's a different kettle of fish as well. The way the reports are taken
I
to
think so.
America. I mean, we really get into detail. We can talk to the witnesses.
Yeah.
There's no hold, no bars hold. But in the UK, we very rarely get to speak to these people.
We don't get to speak to them, and I think I'm supposed to be interviewing you, but the Bigfoot community is we're just chatting anyway. It's really separated in many respects anyway. And a smaller place like this, where our scene is tiny, that same separation and argumentative sort of camps and tribes exists, but it really separates all of the information that we need to share because it then rests in the hands of just a few people who are not talking to each other. And it's like the American situation played out on a much smaller stage, so it affects us a lot worse
Mm,
because we can't get access to any of this stuff. I don't think it's ever going to get any better. Um, and this is essentially why I did that one book which was Britain, and I'm looking out doing the other ones. I'm looking at other places now because I'm like, that's done, and you can come back to that if more information comes forward. Anyway, I'm going to focus back on you and
okay.
get your thing doing. So moving away from the Bigfoot thing and the tribe of the hairy man tribe sort of deal. What what's the situation with the paranormal then? So when you're investigating something like that, when you have a researcher or a witness on, that must be even harder to substantiate because a
Mm,
lot of that is based upon feelings. Even I went into a building, I had a cold feeling, and I felt a presence speaking to me, or was kind of saying X, Y, and Z, like the Derek Cora thing we always associate with it, right? So,
yes.
so what's the real deal with that? How does that take place? How do you investigate those things?
It's difficult, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
difficult. I'm pretty simple. Me, I'm not going out investigating as such. Um, I'm listening to people, and because I don't have the answers, I don't have the answers. Um, and I feel like more my sort of work more is being able to give people the platform to discuss, to
Hmm.
share, and for other people to connect to those encounters or details of those encounters. And I think together we have to solve this paranormal stuff. Is not an easy one to solve, is
Hmm.
it? And I don't know. I don't know, Andy.
Oh, oh,
I'm into the discussion, to
yeah.
share people sharing thoughts and stuff, but I'm the last person who's going to say this is what it is or this is.
No, sure. I mean,
Um,
and that's always hard to do. But so, for instance, what types of things uh, would you think plausible to exist in that world? To be real? What kind of experiences do you seem the most plausible?
um, I don't know. The EVP stuff's very
Oh yeah.
interesting.
Okay.
The EVP stuff's interesting. Um, but that's based on frequencies, isn't it?
Mm.
And I've used this analogy before. It's like, tuning into the radio station. You might be listening to Radio 1, but 2, 3, 4, and 5 are still broadcasting, but you're just not tuned into it. And, who knows how it's working with these EVPs and whether we are picking up just other frequencies or in other dimensions or in our own dimension here. I don't know how I feel. There's something about psychics as well. I know there's those who are very clever and can pretty much, but there's those that are really spot on. And you think, how on earth are they doing that? There's something. I believe there's something.
I definitely believe some people have that ability for sure. No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt. Not many.
No.
Again, like our true witnesses of Bigfoot and things, but some people definitely seem to have that ability.
Whether that's something within us that we all, somehow, takes a knock for something to come out in you, or a trigger or something. I think there's more to us, there's got to be more to us than just this, I think. If I don't know.
Well, definitely, and one would hope. I definitely do, but I think it comes from quite a religious perspective. Anyway, so that's a given from my side. It's a given. Although it's been a funny road. Converted to Christianity at 16, ended up marrying a Jew, had 2 children. They get Shabbat candles on Friday and hymns sung to them on Sunday. Poor little confused kids. Probably grow up and be Buddhists or Hindus or something.
Completely something completely different. But at least they have a choice. At least they get to see that there's other alternatives out there. And that's another thing, isn't it? When people are conditioned from being a baby and there's no other options, life can be difficult. Well, it can be very simple, or you can miss out on so much. I don't know, who am I to say?
Well, your family have been Catholics, I guess. Your mother was Czech?
Polish,
sorry. Oh, it's Polish and Italian, so you're definitely Catholics.
Yes.
There's no that they were Catholics.
But that's something, I grew up saying, Roman Catholic. I didn't know what it meant. I'd never been, don't go to church. My mum had a picture of the Pope up, and a cross and stuff like that. But it was just, token kind of items that signify something. But I never went to church, and so I used to carry this label with me, which was just a label because that's how I was brought up. To be we're Roman Catholic. Doesn't, and people carry it around with them for even longer. But at one point, I woke up and was like, "Hang on a minute, why am I saying this? I don't even know what it means. I don't even know about the religion or anything." So I had to stop saying it. Because I couldn't truthfully say, just because I'm born to parents who say they were Roman Catholics doesn't mean I am, and I'm not gonna. I don't know what I am.
Tribal community cohesion, isn't it?
Yeah.
And probably something for an Italian to marry a Pole, something very unifying in an interracial marriage, where they can say, okay, we feel the same about X, Y, and Z, and that's what we've got in common. The sacrament and the Eucharist and all that stuff. Mass, I think it was Mass. I came from grew up in Wales, Irish family background, so Dad's family would have been Catholic, but we went to Church of Wales school, grew up, so we had the diluted Catholic version, Church of England. It's like Catholicism light. But I ask you about this stuff because I think our belief structure, the background belief structure, it often influences or the lack of it sometimes influences how we accept these things, or what we want out of believing in them, what we want out of discovering them. And that's one thing I notice a lot in the cryptozoological community, paranormal too. Just wondered what your take is on that. Do you think it's a big driver?
Yeah, yeah, and this is what I'm going back to saying. Is it a good thing that you live with this ideology, or that you're told that it's actually maybe not like that? Because it will influence uh, what you believe. So let's go back to Bigfoot. You know, a lot of I don't want to just class them as Christian. There seems to be various types of Christians that
There are a
I'm
few.
meeting. Yeah, there's some really extreme ones, some really nice, pleasant ones, some that are really judging you, and
Yeah.
you know. So I'm a bit confused about how some of these people, whether they're Christians or not, I don't know. But
Yeah.
you know, Bigfoot's a demon,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
and you know these orbs, the demons, bad
Mm.
spirits, and if you ask someone else who you know isn't a Catholic, a Christian, they're going to say, well, it's a spirit,
Mm.
um, not demonic. I mean, this kind of really does muddy the water again, even muddies the water even
Mm.
more, and you're also at a brick wall with people who are too religious,
Mm.
who bring it too much into. For me, it would be a personal thing for me if I had a belief in something.
Mm.
That would be a personal thing for me. I'm not going to bring it into everything in my day-to-day life.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, you're still Daniela throughout, and then
yeah,
you'll be Daniela, who's also a Christian. So I said a lot of times with this, when a lot of the British researchers at the beginning were saying, "Well, this guy, don't listen to him. He's just a creationist." I say, "Well, one, that shouldn't exclude me from having an opinion, but I'm not a creationist cryptozoologist. I'm a cryptozoologist who's also a creationist because that's my belief. I believe in God.
mm,
So yeah, I believe in creation, but that's not the driving force in this. I'm looking for undiscovered animals,
mm,
or living fossils, etc. So that, yeah, and people have opinions about it, of course, and those often come from a philosophical or religious perspective too. We don't want that guy because he's sort of, I think he's got an ulterior motive in wanting to find these living dinosaurs here, eh? What's going on? If he finds one of those things, we're for it. Or I don't think that would really change anything. If Loch Ness was a plesiosaur, I don't think the Darwinists would suddenly give up the ghost and say, "Oh my God, we were wrong."
no,
They would just say, "Oh, look, a living fossil," and carry
yeah,
on.
mm,
Yeah. So,
it's yeah. Someone was in some comments the other week somewhere, and had someone had talked about. I think they'd said someone was on. I think it was the researcher's report. I don't want to go into too much detail because it's like I don't want to get
mm,
pulled up on it in a few
harangue.
weeks' time or whatever
Yeah.
for saying that. But there was two comments. One was, oh, it's completely gone out of my mind now. Oh yeah, someone had come on and said that they didn't believe in the Bible, and one of the comments was, "Why did we continue with the interview after the guy
Wow.
had said he didn't believe in the Bible?"
Wow.
And that they're open-minded as well, by the way.
Okay.
Uh, and that really shocks me.
Yeah.
And another comment was someone had talked about the Bible and with Bigfoot, and I said, well, maybe the world doesn't revolve around the Bible
Bible. Yeah.
for everybody. And this person had said, well, you're obviously not a Christian, but that's okay.
Oh well.
You don't need to tell me it's okay. I don't need reassuring. I don't need permission. I don't need your blessing. I don't need to be told it's okay. I eat chicken. You don't need to tell me that's okay either. It
Yeah.
doesn't. That's my business. What I do. It just feels like you're being
It's a
excluded or
cultural
isolated.
difference.
Yeah, and
It's a
it's
very in the way that you grew up thinking you were a Roman Catholic, even though you weren't a practicing Christian. I think the US is still a very Christian country in that same way that we
mm,
were 50 years ago, in the sense of lots of people who attend church and aren't really very Christian. in their behavior or their ideas are very strong about their Christian identity over maybe the faith, which is why you're bumping into people who are sort of judgy brimstone Christians who want to send you to hell and curse you to hell. You should go to hell if
Yeah.
you think something, which no true Christian who is thinking would really ever say that, because that's
It
kind of
would
defeating the point of their
threaten
message.
you. Yeah.
They're
I mean,
supposed to tell you so you don't go to hell, right? So why would they wish that you went to hell?
yeah.
Yeah,
It's almost like a threat. I
it's
don't like the
weird.
way it's said.
Well, I'm in with the
And
man. I'll have a word, and you'll be going to hell by the end of the session.
yeah,
Like, just
and they say,
watch
what would
out.
Jesus do? If Jesus acted the way
Yeah.
that some of these people do, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't want to be hanging around with
Well,
him.
he definitely wouldn't be
Um,
like blasting somebody with a 45 who walked onto his property without permission. That's for sure.
yeah,
So and I just accept it's a different culture. You've got to meet people where they are. And there's wonderful things about that culture I really, really like. But because we speak the same language, sometimes we forget that we're really different, actually. Very different.
yeah. Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
because the culture is religion.
Mm.
It's not, to me, the culture shouldn't be about religion.
Yeah.
It's about the food you eat, the things you do, the clothes you wear, that kind of thing. And I don't want to know about people's religion.
Yeah.
I don't. People quoting things from the Bible. You don't get people in the UK doing that, do we? So you're in the supermarket
With
arguing over a
receipts.
shopping trolley. No
Yeah.
one's going to go, well, Michael 12:4
Yeah.
said, unto you haveth this shopping trolley first, or whatever. I don't know, but
When thou curest without a mask,
yes,
I
exactly.
shall
You
take
don't.
2 meters distance between thy neighbor.
Yeah. Amen.
But this is the thing. I just because I went to I was gonna be a priest at one point, you know that. So I went to seminary and everything. I was in my 20s and decided not to do it on the grounds that I discussed with my pastor. I'd rather be a private hypocrite than a public one. So which
Yeah.
seemed to him and to me very good reasoning at the time, not to go into that sort of line of work. So it's just interesting. I always bring religion into it, into cryptozoology and paranormal, because what I'm talking about really is a philosophical outlook, whether you be an atheist or a Christian or a Muslim or a Jew or a, a spiritualist or somebody into the New Age movement or whatever, Wiccan, Satanist even now. A lot of people are telling me they're Satanists. I'm thinking, do you really know that? I mean, so when people say that they got addicted to heroin, and I'm always like, how did you take it in the first place? Who doesn't know heroin's horribly addictive? How did that happen?
I
And I
know.
feel the same way, but that's, it's my opinion. I might think it's right, but that's my opinion. So all these different things are going on, and I just think when you're looking at Bigfoot, when you're looking at a poltergeist activity or UFOs, that philosophy is gonna, really, really determine what you think you're looking at,
Mm.
personally.
I wonder for me that I don't have much of a philosophy because I don't follow any particular
Yeah,
belief. And it's not like I've got nothing to say. Well, it kind of is that I've got nothing to say because there's so many beliefs out there. It could be any one of them.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, I kind of feel like I don't have a lot to give. But then I kind of think, well, but I don't want to commit to anything.
yeah,
And I'm happy to be open-minded with this and just take these accounts and filter them in my own way,
mm,
based on how I feel about the person, how the person's giving the account. Um, that's all we can do because we're not going to get the information that we want, um,
no,
just by asking questions. So if something is happening, then there's other ways to look at it. That's not necessarily directly at the person who's experiencing it, but what they're
yeah,
experiencing and what other people are experiencing, and try to connect
yeah,
some dots somehow, maybe.
and
Um,
correlation, yeah,
yeah. So yeah, I don't. I've no idea, you know, and I don't mean to say that I haven't thought about it,
But
but it
that's
could be
very
anything.
refreshing.
Could
That's
be
very
anything.
refreshing, Daniela, because everybody seems to have an idea about what they think it is, and to somebody to say, well, yeah, the whole point of my podcasts are to listen to what people think they've seen or experienced or what they think something is, their researchers. That's great. You're more likely to find an answer there than what they talk about the scientific hypothesis. Those who develop a hypothesis and try to prove it,
Yeah.
it's already confirmation bias from the beginning.
Mm.
You never start with a hypothesis, really, do you? Or
No, you
no?
try and you'll
Mm,
try and fit it. You'll try and make it fit, won't you? Or
mm,
you'll try and the only things you'll um put down are the things that are connecting it to that
yeah,
thing that you believe in. I talk to quite a few people, you know, we have these backstage chats
yeah,
sometimes at night, and I invite people on, and we kind of, you know, talk about this subject. And these guys are like me, open minded, don't want to say what we think it is because we've no
mm,
idea. But that sometimes gives the best conversations, um, when we're trying to connect dots. And we've done it. We've gone, okay, it could be this, and we've tried to put feelers out and ask questions through interviews and things like that. And it's either a yes or a no. All right, okay, scrap that. Maybe
mm,
it's let's try this way of. So, you know, I've just realised we have to change what we're doing because people have just been doing the same thing, and I'm, you know, respect
not
to all the
working.
people, yeah, and
Yeah,
respect to people who are going out there and having, like Shane Carpenter. I think he's great. He's been doing it in the 400. He's got his spot. He's been doing it for a long time. There's something going on there. He's collecting the data, and that's great.
mm,
That's how much dedication you need to put into really learning about these. If you can learn anything more, um, but you know, we we need to change because Bigfoot isn't changing. What they're doing, that they're just carrying on as normal, and we're not getting to where we want to be. We don't seem to be getting any further. So we have to change. We have to change the way we think. Um, you know, possibilities is you know, brainstorming as much as we can because people are in the woods and they're not bringing anything back.
yeah. It just seems to be the same thing over and over again. I was even remarking to a colleague earlier that even the footprint casts now are really dubious. You're having to draw red lines around them in the photo, and it's just like that's just an indentation. That's just a broken branch. We talked about sticks and stones before when I was on your program, and just the frustration with it. Not that it's not anything, but that we had Bigfoot pages littered with all of this
Yeah,
broken sticks and fallen sticks and branches in certain
anything
positions.
could have done it. Anybody could
Anything.
have done it. Literally anything.
The person taking
Um,
the photo could have got there with a bunch of friends,
yeah,
jammed in that pinwheel, and
yeah.
clickety click.
You know what? Why do we think we can read the messages that
Mm,
Bigfoots are leaving each other if they are doing that? If
mm,
these why do we think we can even understand what it means? And also, you know, the same like you're saying with the casts, the prints. How many more do we need to see? I'm
mm.
pretty convinced there's something out there.
Yeah, a
Um,
pretty good cast out there.
yeah, I like
Yeah.
photography. I
Mm.
wouldn't dream of taking a picture of a bird that was behind a tree and trying to show you it and go, look, it's there. It's
I
exactly
just
the same
if
thing.
you look
I've
just
put a
here
line
when I
round
put the
it.
red there,
Yeah,
there's a
it,
actually
it's
it's a red crested woodpecker. You can't see the red, but I
it's
mean if you
there.
could see behind, it's right. That's where it is.
Yeah, I wouldn't
Yeah.
even I wouldn't even try and do that. And this is what these blob squatch
Okay.
pictures to me are kind of about. And it's like you don't need to tell me the story. Tell me about when you were there, what you heard, what you saw. I'd rather hear
Okay.
that
So
than
here's a
try and
question: do you
cross
prefer
my
sightings over? I mean, uh, audio, verbal sightings over audio or film or photograph?
yeah,
Is it? I always love that. Isn't it much better to get a sighting
100%,
than
100%.
If they say
there's
I've
no
got a photo too, I
context.
panic. I say,
There's no
oh my.
context to these photos.
Yeah.
There's nothing unless they've got, they were there.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing worse than that one where, no, I didn't see anything when I was out, but I looked
Mm-mm.
at my video later and saw this thing, and
Another red-crested woodpecker behind a
just
tree.
another bush there behind that bed or
Oh,
whatever. But yeah, so why don't we put our energy into something else? Why don't these people put their energy into something else than trying to convince us that there's a Bigfoot in the woods? And yeah, there might be, but I don't want to look at the blurry picture. Sorry,
it's the
it doesn't.
ultimate Emperor's New Clothes.
Yeah,
When you see the comments below those pictures, I'm just like, yeah, you're all looking at that naked emperor walking down the street and saying, "Oh, how beautiful, how
yeah,
wondrous!
yeah.
Oh, such fine material."
And sometimes you'll get those that spot a juvenile with it as well,
Oh
and you
yeah,
think, oh, yeah, what glasses are they wearing? I can't do it anymore.
yeah.
I can't. It's we're past it. Are we not past that?
I
Let's.
think it's beyond passe, and we're talking. This is 80s hairsprayed, bulletproof hair
Yeah,
past it. We're
yeah,
talking shell
definitely.
suits here. It's
Yeah,
past. It's gone.
platforms, past.
Platforms.
Yeah, flares, the lot.
Oh, it's gone.
It's
So gone. It's hard. I think there's a change there. What do you think that this? And I hate to talk about this COVID thing because it just annoys me. The whole thing. What do you? What kind of changes do you think this is going to make to this genre? People perhaps not going out as much, not having as many opportunities to snap pictures of trees in the woods, or the ensuing boredom that leads people to sort of do a little bit more armchair surfing. What
mm.
changes do you think it's going to bring to Bigfootery?
Well, I wonder if less people are going out, and it would bring more activity
Mhm.
in a way. Um, but in terms of there's definitely going to be more people looking on YouTube, and just taking it all in. And
Mm.
a lot of them are not going to be filtering
Yeah.
through what's out there. Um, and then these stories of Bigfoot's bad and connecting the 411 to Bigfoot
Oh
um,
yeah.
could
Yeah.
really seriously be putting people off from going out as well and doing what they've always wanted to
If you
do.
think you're going to get abducted and disappeared, sure, why
Yeah,
not?
yeah, it's just so. Um, yeah, I think I was talking to Larry Batson. I don't know if you know Larry. He's a great guy.
No.
He's a wildlife educator for over 50 years.
Oh
He
wow,
knew John Green and old school.
that sounds very
Uh,
interesting.
yeah, you should talk to him,
I'd love
actually.
to. Yeah.
Yeah, you should definitely talk to him. Great guy. And he told me the difference before the internet when he was going out getting accounts from people was
Mm.
completely different. The information they were giving, the way they were giving it, the way they were logging it,
Mm.
the internet's completely
Okay.
wrecked this form of sharing information in many ways, as well as opening up and giving people a
Yeah.
platform. There's two sides to it, but we've definitely got lazier with the internet.
So
I
are we
think
basing things on urban legends now? So new types of sightings have come in and been popularized, and now the new witnesses, whether they be real or fake, are re-reporting those elements that didn't exist in his time. Is that what he's saying?
yes, yeah,
Okay, I
yeah,
mean, that's very interesting.
yeah. You should. He did a show with us recently on the Researchers Report
I'll have to find him.
last week. I think I'll send you the link.
Yeah,
Send you the link.
I'd love to talk to him.
Yeah, it's fab, absolutely fab. But
So,
yeah, it's changed the way I think details are given, and it's not only that. Once upon a time, you'd be recording your own details. You'd be using
mm,
a diary or a journal or something like that. Um, Now, when you say you rung somebody up to give your report, it could be transcribed in a totally different way.
mm,
Um, and I think details missing. This is why we need to talk to the people face to face
mm,
chats with these people, because there's more detail there in a listening talking to someone than reading maybe something they've written down once. Kerry, as an example, can bring more detail out as he's gone on with it. He can remember maybe a little bit more about the day or a feature or something. These little accounts that are just sat on the BRFO or whatever websites, they're just one-time reported, and I bet you there's so much more to those accounts if you could get hold of the people.
Well, I think people minimize when they're writing as well because they laziness perhaps, or just they don't want to over-explain everything. And so you just say, I saw this, it happened here, it was this color, it was at this point. Get in touch if you want to know more, right?
Yeah.
I used to refuse to take reports over the phone, actually. One, because I didn't want to reinterpret the sighting in my own words. Didn't like to do that. I think both are necessary. I think it's very, very handy. That's a good way to do it. Now, just before we pop off, I would like to ask you a question. I know it's a theoretical question about the desire to find Bigfoot. So, if you could be guaranteed to find Bigfoot, record it, document the entire thing, HD, the whole thing, all the cameras, all the crew, but you had to do it with Todd Standing, would you? Would you take the opportunity? And you obviously got to get the Todd Standing flag after you publish the results, but you know it's real. You would know it was real. If you could have that opportunity, would you take it or would you say no? I'll go it alone.
Oh. Well, I don't know. If Todd was offering,
Yeah.
and I could obviously make my own decision,
Mm.
I'd go with Todd, because I think, the thing with Todd is whether his images was real or not.
Yeah.
There's more to Todd Standing than those images,
I think so too.
and he's trained to go out there, and you saw the places he was going to. You don't just go up there with a rucksack on a whim trying to. So he's obviously had some experience. I don't know what went on, what those images are. They don't look particularly right to me. But there's more to Todd Standing than those images, and that's the thing is, people being called hoaxes and stuff like that.
And you never live it down.
You never live it down.
If his information is real, we'll never know because the entire community says no. And therefore you can't ever be bona fide. It's a strange thing. I used to talk to a colleague about Trevor Cornwall once when we used to go out, and I'd say, "Let's hope to God we don't find anything, right? Because Todd's Standing, if we find something, we're finished. We're finished if we find something. So we don't find anything that we can really record and legitimately present to people." And I think that's the thing. You think about the Patterson Gimlin footage. Still amazing. The musculature moving. If it's a suit, the most awesome suit of that time. Even this time, actually, you can't get a suit like that now. You go to all the Bigfoot conferences, you don't see anything like that.
No.
With that detail. So this awesome suit, where it's, if that has never been accepted, then wow, what are we?
Yeah.
What can we possibly present that would be more convincing?
We need a body, don't we? And a few years ago, I would never have said this. No, I don't want to have Bigfoot shot. Oh, it's, this cute creature that's very, mysterious and fascinating. But now, if the only way we're going to do this is to have a body, and even then, that's going to be hard. What would you do? What would you do if you found a body? I mean, I don't know if I could cut off someone's finger, whatever. But I mean,
you'd have to.
What happens then?
Find a way to report it and recover it, cutting off heads and fingers and bits and pieces. The one thing that troubles me about the kill or no kill crowd is whatever happened to tranquilizers?
Well, I asked
elephant tranquilizers.
I asked Larry Batson this. So you're going to have to watch the researcher's report.
I'll watch it.
But he basically said, one is you don't know the texture of the skin, so he's getting the right needle, he's getting the right dose. It's not that simple. It's not that simple
that way. But I mean,
you
if
could kill it, or you could annoy it, and then
really,
suddenly you've got this tranquilizer gun.
but surely something that could take down an elephant could take down an animal like that. That's what I'm thinking. Okay, so if it's kill or no kill, but you use a tranquilizer and it dies, that's terrible. But you try to tranquilize it.
Well, there's two of them or
The
three of
second
them.
one beats you to death and pulls your arms off.
and shows you what.
Beats you to death with your arms after
with
pulling
your arms. I asked him this. I said tranquilizer, and he just said there's too many complications.
The old.
But he said
trees.
He said the skin though. He said you've no idea how they could have really, really tough, thick skin, and it might not even penetrate. So I don't know. But yeah, I thought of that one.
Yeah, I'm sure it's not an original thought. I didn't think it was original. It just doesn't come up. And I always think, well, what about the first people that tranquilized an elephant? They didn't know if they were going to get through the skin. Surely the point is, if you're out there, look, I'm saying if they're out there, if I'm out there, I'm not sticking a needle in it. But if they're out there, then I think that's cool. They should try that.
I think it's probably been done. It's probably been tried. I mean, there's been so many things.
Yeah,
I don't think the person who's found Bigfoot is going to be out on YouTube. I don't think those people are going to be saying anything. It'll be a personal thing. I can imagine someone like Kerry doesn't want to go looking for it, but wishes he knew the answer. I'm sure it plays on everybody's mind who's seen one. He's like, what was that? And I need to know. Yeah. And so for some, it's a personal journey, and who knows who's taking it to the extreme that they have to go and find it, kill it, and just see it for themselves, being in control rather than the other way around. I don't know. It's how people react, isn't it?
I mean, it's hard to say, and who knows? I do hope within our lifetimes it becomes something like the Kraken, the giant squid. You walk past the giant squid in the museum, and you have a look, and you're like, wow, that's great, look at that. But you don't go, wow, a Kraken. It's just a giant squid. And I think that's the point. Hopefully, it will be that mundane at some point, at least to other people, not to us.
Be a lot of calamari, won't it?
Yeah.
Calamari.
I mean, the Bigfoot. Bigfoot steaks. Is that what you're talking about?
Bigfoot steaks, yeah. Bigfoot barbecue. I mean, they're doing the Bigfoot burgers already. They just need the actual Bigfoot meat,
The veggie version at the moment.
Of course, yeah. The soy Bigfoot.
Soy.
Yeah.
Oh, soy
Linda McCartney Bigfoot burgers,
And the sausages, of course.
Of course, yeah.
Ones. Yeah.
Yes.
I should let you go. I always enjoy our chats, online and offline. And anybody who's listening, you have to check out Hidden Existence podcast. You have to check out Bigfoot Odyssey, and I'll put all the links in the description and places where you can just go and just randomly give Daniela lots of money to be herself and fix that washing machine and get a new kitchen.
Bathroom. Yeah, definitely. You need a toilet. Thank you.
Okay, lovely to talk to you.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me on. I've enjoyed it. Take care. Bye-bye.